Welcome to the Grand Prix Project Podcast.
Welcome once again to the Grand Prix Project Podcast. This is the MotoGP edition, the French Grand Prix review. Me, your host, Andre Miller, my co-host, Neil G, a.k.a.
Thanos. Viva la France.
Yeah, what's good, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just here recovering in some pain, but I'm good. I'm good. Looking forward to this recording because, boy, we should have a good show this week because that French Grand Prix was a good one. Definitely a good one. Nerve-wracking, but good.
Chaotic.
Yeah. Because I was like tweeting like, yo, this is utter chaos at the start, but we get into that.
It was a wild one. It was a very wild weekend. So, just gonna kind of run through a few things that happened, right? So it said that Marc debuted a new chassis.
Yeah, that he tried in the Jerez test. I think everybody had it, but he's the only one that used the new chassis. Yeah. Well, I get of those who have a factory bike, because I don't think the chassis was available to those on the GP24.
Yeah, but before obviously weather came and changed the weekend, one of the things that was noticed was the fact Marc was doing 130s and 18 lap old tires, and that raised a few eyebrows over
Yeah, because look, at the start of the weekend, and this is the thing I've been saying to you from the beginning. What I noticed with Marc is Marc wants to start every weekend on the front foot. He wants to top every practice session, every qualifier session. He just wants to dominate. He doesn't. I mean, his first lap out, he's bang on the pace straight away. And when you see that from Marc, you pretty much know, yeah, it's pretty much going to be somewhat lights out for everybody else. You're not gonna, when he starts like that, that's him sending a warning shot to everybody, like, yo, I'm ready. Bring your A game. So
we saw that. So to put things into context, right? 25 relative to 2024, right? French Grand Prix. Martin lap was a 129, 9.919, and Fabio went 6 tenths faster than that.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I mean, based on what we saw in all of the practice sessions, like, it looked like Marc had half a second on the whole entire field. Easily. There was at one point, it wasn't until free practice 2 where, everybody had to get a time. So they go straight through to the final qualifying session. It wasn't until that time that Fabio, that's the closest anybody got to Marc that entire up before qualifying. When Fabio did that lap, that brought him, I think, something like within 2 tenths of Marc. That's the closest anybody got to him in any of the sessions prior to that point. So to go into qualifying, and again, straight out the box, his first lap, he did a 29.442. And you're like, pretty much everybody was saying, yeah, there's no way anybody's going to beat that time. None whatsoever. That just looks like scary. Marc just and again, for him to just come out and do it on his first lap, that's what pretty much tells you. Marc was just like saying, yeah, give up, guys. It's not going to happen today. But when you're on home turf and you have the crowd behind you, it's like it gives you another tenth performance. And man, where Fabio found that lap, man, that was vintage Fabio, vintage 2021 Fabio, because Fabio was on one that weekend, and that lap was, again, what that use an F1 comparison. That was like Max in Japan this year.
So yeah, it's the same. Yeah,
That's
because
the level that.
the last week lap was good. I think you made that comparison last week as well. It's a great lap. It was you can't home turf, home crowd.
Yeah,
He's in the groove. That was a great lap,
yeah, but
right?
even say it's home turf, but the way how Mark came out the gates, you pretty much say it doesn't really, because we know Mark. Every track is a Mark Marquez track. He doesn't care where you are, where he's gonna race, in your backyard, your front porch, wherever it is. He's coming there to dominate. And based on what we saw in the practice sessions, no one really thought that anyone was gonna beat him to pole positions. And again, it's similar to Max in Japan this year. That lap just came out of nowhere
Yeah,
because MotoGP starts doing this similar thing to F1 where they overlay the lap to the first, the second.
yeah.
And when you're looking at the lap, where Fabio made up most of his times on Mark was on the braking. And you know where he made up most of that time? In sector two, where Mark was pretty much obliterating everybody. But for some reason, Fabio just found it's like the bike just decided to wake up, come alive, and it just like that video also shows you just how good the Ducati is because in previous years I mentioned it. I tweeted the video and I mentioned it. In previous years, the Yamaha's strength has always been corner speed. You know what I mean? It always had good corner speed. It could carry a lot of corner speed, stable and everything. The Ducati was famous for it's not that good. It wants to get on upright fast,
It was a
shoots
pointing.
out the corner,
It was a
point and
point.
shoot. But when you look at Mark's lap, Mark was pretty much dominant in the corners as well. So it shows you how far the Ducati has come
Which
over
that
these years, whereby there's nowhere where you can look at it and say it's weak. No, it stops
you know,
well, it accelerates, it turns. It's just
and
probably
even if it's not as dominant in some areas, it's not it's not that bad for it to
exactly.
be detrimental, right?
Yeah,
It's good everywhere. Doesn't have to
exactly.
be great. It just needs to be good everywhere.
I think I think we're probably looking at the best MotoGP bike that's ever been built
Yeah.
easily.
Let's say
I
it's a,
think you.
let's say it's a GP24 though, not this one.
Well,
Let's say the GP24.
okay, GP2 because it's I think it's a rival for the RC211V, the first year of the V4s, the Honda. I
Which
think it's a rival for that as arguably the best
motorcycle ever?
we've ever seen. But again, going back to Fabio, Fabio did his thing on that lap, and boy, I was happy for him. Again, first back-to-back poles since 2021, the year he won his championship.
Yeah,
That's how far Yamaha has fallen down the rabbit hole. That's
yeah.
terrible.
But they're
That's
they're
terrible.
back now. They're doing well now. You could see improvements in the motorcycle.
I'd put a pause on that and saying they're back, honestly,
No, when I say
because
back, not mean they're ready to win, but it's a better bike than the past couple of years.
yeah, I think yeah, because
Because you
last
guys
year,
think about in the last couple of years, no one is out qualifying the Ducatis really.
yeah, and the thing is, that last year the problem Fabio had was when it gets to qualifying, he couldn't get the tires to work. That
Yeah,
was his problem. Qualifying was Fabio's problem, not the races. The bike just wouldn't work, especially when they went to the softer compounds. It
yeah,
just wouldn't work for him. And this year, it seems, I mean, they had a rocky start to the year, to be
yeah.
honest, because they came into the year after the testing. You thought they'd be
Because you had literally beat them up.
huh?
You had actually beat them up.
No, I said I remember I said at the start of the year, I said they were the next best team behind the Ducatis. Of the other teams that were the next best team, I think they had the better bike compared to Honda, KTM, Aprilia. Who else? Who else? Is that it? I think that's it,
I don't think
right?
they do.
Hmm?
I don't think they do this. They just have a better rider.
No, that's what I'm saying. At the start of the year, based on what we saw in testing, that's the conclusion I came to. But then when the season started, I realized, yeah, that's not the case. This is completely not it. And again, they had a rocky start to the season, so that's probably what what changed. But they seem to be, like you said, the last two races, well, qualifying has been good for them. Just put it that way.
Because at one point, Fabio had said if he could get up front, he could race, but now he realized that actually I can't. Because once his Ducatis get fired up, yeah, I'm in problems.
Well, I mean, if okay, let's talk about the sprint race. It was eventful for a couple laps.
Yeah.
Man, Pecco can't catch a break. Crashed out again, which was what was his problem last year? Again, why he lost the championship last year? Crashing out in sprint races. Crashed out again. Don't know what's going on there, but
It's his first crash of the season, though, so you got to give it to him.
yeah, but the sprint racing.
And the thing is, what makes it difficult with Pecco this year? This is the best start he's ever had in a Ducati. All right, this is his best MotoGP start ever
in the season.
Yeah,
and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. But looking at the sprint, I mean, the start was pretty, I'd say, nerve-wracking because Mark actually jumped Fabio off the line. But the problem he had was when he got to the, I don't even know if you call that turn two. When he got that kink, and you get to turn two, the bike was still in the what do they call it again? The ride height was still in the drag mode, so he couldn't turn the bike. And Fabio had been practicing all weekend to where he get to that point where he gets the bike up out of the ride height position, so he's able to turn, and that allowed him to kind of turn underneath him, get the lead. And at one point he had his lead was what? Almost a second?
Almost a second, yeah.
Almost a second, and I thought, yeah, okay, can Fabio do this? But in the back of your head, you just knew, once Mark gets into a rhythm, that Ducati is going to catch him at some point. And I think the reason why Fabio didn't win or podium that race, I think his tires, it's more that his tires went off rather than them having better pace than him. I think that's what, if you listen to him, listen to what he said. He said he had good pace, and then the tires dropped off much quicker than he actually thought it would have.
Yeah, that's because what he did, that canter that he canter, just like what Morbidelli did in Qatar. Your tire's going to get eaten up, bro.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can still, again, he only had because at those couple laps that he led, only one of those laps he did the fastest lap in.
Yeah, but the thing is, I cannot see Fabio beating the Ducatis unsung over on.
Well, that's not what I said. Was the reason why he didn't podium?
Yeah,
is the fact that his tires went off quicker. It's not a case of. I don't think it's a case of where they were outright quicker than he was.
I couldn't see him. I cannot see.
Yeah, you could. Why not? I mean, he held off Pecco in was it Jerez? So why couldn't he do it here?
We're talking about the third fastest Ducati. I didn't see.
What again? I still don't see why you think it's an impossible because he held off Pecco in a week prior in Jerez and got a podium on pure pace.
Yeah, I just didn't see it this weekend. I just couldn't see him doing it this week.
Well, again, like I said, it's a case of if his tires hadn't dropped as quickly as they did, I think he had the pace because you look at his pace throughout the whole entire weekend, he was probably the closest match to Mark.
In terms of race pace? No,
yeah. Who was it? Who was it? How by how much?
Alex, will tell you the fast riders was actually putting up time over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Fermin Aldegar, Alex Marquez, Marc Marquez. I think Pecco had decent time. Fabio wasn't the closest to Mark on race pace. Hell no, he wasn't.
Okay, fine. But I don't see why you think it would have been impossible for him to podium if his tires didn't go off as quickly as they did.
Man, because when I'm looking at the Ducati riders who were on song this week, I just don't see Pecco I just don't see Fabio and Yamaha beating them. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
You're
Did
wrong,
you see?
but I
Did
just
you?
think
Okay. Did you see Fabio beating Mark to pole?
if I saw the thing, I could see anyone getting pole position. That's the thing.
Nah. Don't do that. Don't do that, bro. Don't do that.
Listen
Don't
what
do
I'm
that.
saying to you. Listen what I'm saying to you. The thing is with pole position, right? You just need to do that one lap,
Come on, bro. Don't
right?
do that. Don't do that.
But I'm being honest with you because
No,
I could see Maverick Vinales getting pole at some point.
mate. Based on what we saw in all the practice sessions, right? Absolutely no one gave anybody outside of Mark a chance of getting pole. Nobody.
Whenever it's one lap, I expect anything.
But it's not. But it's not just one lap, is it? It's multiple laps.
Listen what I'm saying to you. In qualifying, right, it's one of them ones where it could go anyway. In a race, you got 27.
In the race, in the race, it also can go anywhere.
No, that's what I'm saying to you. But the chance of Fabio beating the Ducatis, right, or beating Mark in a race, or beating Alex in a race when everything goes to form, I cannot see it. In qualifying, it could be a situation of, yeah.
But answer my question. Going into qualifying on Saturday, did you think anybody could beat Mark?
Yes.
Based on what we
before.
I don't believe you.
Based on what happened in the weekend before, I could see it.
I don't believe that.
Because what you're looking at, right? I'm looking at, okay, it happened once. Fabio seemed to be finding the one lap pace in this Yamaha. So you think I would really go in the rest of the season thinking that Mark can't get beaten?
No, but what I'm saying is if you look at Jerez, Mark didn't have that big of an advantage over everyone in Jerez compared to what we saw in Le Mans over the weekend. Mark had literally, on day one, the closest person to him was half a second.
But that's what I'm saying.
But then, hold on, but day one, so the closest person to him was half a second. And from second down to probably 10th were covered by maybe 2/10.
Yeah, but you got to remember, day one is usually like that with Mark.
Even day two, up until Fabio did that lap, no one was within half a second of Mark.
Yeah, bro, I always tell you and I process motorsport different. Once it happened, the thing is with me in qualifying, it's just like even in F1, you could have Max in the fastest car and on a given day, George out. It's just so for me with qualifying, I expect anything to happen in qualifying over 1 or 2 laps, right? A rider could lock up, he could be on the wrong track. The rider behind him could just get better track temperature. There's a bunch of stuff. So with qualifying, I'm never surprised.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I'm never surprised with qualifying because it could go either way in qualifying.
I don't know about that because based on what we saw, nobody thought Mark was going to lose.
That's why I said you and I process these things different.
Because the first lap Mark did in qualifying, he did a 29.4. His best lap up until that point was a 29, I believe, 9. So his very first run in qualifying, he did a 29.4.
That he did in Jerez. His first qualifying lap was a lap record.
Okay.
And Fabio went and beat it. So when you see stuff like that,
by what margin did Fabio beat him?
It doesn't matter. He got pole. That's what I'm saying. It does not matter. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. In qualifying could go anywhere. You might probably get to the
if the rider doesn't lock up or make a mistake, based on what we see in the practice session, and based on that everybody looked at. You listen to any of the commentators in qualifying, not one of them expected that pole.
I mean, I form my own opinions, bro. Because
I'm not saying we all do that. I'm not saying you don't.
We've been watching this thing long enough to know that a lot of time qualifying doesn't go true to form. There's just one rider that's just on the track at the right time. Bike is just in a sweet spot, always on pole. You'll be like, how did that just happen? Right? Comes down to talent, being at the right place at the right time, and maybe that's just the one that's biting the screen and it's like, yo, I'm going for it.
How many poles does Mark have this year?
4. He's been pole every race except for Erith.
And this one.
And this one.
Okay. So based on that form, he's taken pole in everywhere going up to Jerez. did anybody really think going into Jerez anybody could beat Mark? No.
That's what I'm saying. No, but when you see, so the fact that Fabio did it, now you're like, okay, then this bike got one lap pace. So it could happen any given Sunday. Because you can't say it could happen before it, but now you see, oh shoot, that Ducati is fast. It seems like this Yamaha's got one lap pace in the hands of Fabio, right? Who knows? So now we could be in a situation where the Yamaha probably, not saying it, it could be a situation the Yamaha has now become a better one lap bike in the hands of Fabio. Could become a better qualifying bike. We never know. So which is why I'm not surprised if Fabio is a super talent, right? He's got a decent bike, may have one lap pace. He's qualifying on pole. I'm not surprised by it, right?
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Maverick Vinales is on pole. Because now I'm going to get to why I'm looking at Ducati. I know I'm looking at Marc based on what happened this weekend, right? So,
all right, cool. Well, anyway, like I said, the sprint, I think Fabio could have held on for a pole had his tires not gone off as quickly as they did. Because even with his tire, when his tires went off, and Fermin eventually passed him. It's not like Fermin dropped him at a massive pace. He was pretty much still there with Fermin. So it tells me that with better tires, he probably could have held on and gotten a podium. But it is what it is. Mark again, yet he's now won what, every single sprint race this year.
yeah,
So far.
holds the record for it.
Huh?
He knows the record, the outright
Yeah.
record.
So he has won now every single sprint race. Again, what's that? Alex again on the podium again, remaining. I think Alex, you have to call him Mr. Consistent this year. Fermin finally getting his first podium.
Yeah.
Because it's his rookie season, isn't it?
Yeah.
So getting his first podium. And Fabio bringing it home. It would have been nice to see Fabio on the podium in front of the French crowd, but it wasn't his day. Pecco crashing out for the first time. He was already on the back foot. He didn't needed that. But where he crashed is pretty much, I don't think there was much he could have done about that, because we've seen so many crashes at that corner before. It's kind of like, it was just unfortunate.
And
for
the
him.
fact on the back foot means he's taking extra risks to probably make time. It's a tough one.
But I don't think in that situation he was overriding, because again it was early. Was it lap 1 or lap 2? I can't remember. I think it was lap 2 he crashed out. So, but
probably a little bit later on the break. There's a lot of stuff because he knows that he's on the back foot. So when you're on the back foot, you're probably going to take certain liberties that you wouldn't take. Right?
But that was pretty much, outside of those couple laps with Marc, and again you saw there was a move where Marc, threw it up on the inside, and Fabio just kind of like, all right, then cool, take it, because I know you're going to run wide at the next corner, and just kind of like cut back. And that was, again, vintage Fabio. And I think just those few laps alone shows the sport, how much the sport needs a quick Fabio. Because I think if Fabio had a bike that was anywhere close to what the Ducati is, he'd be right up there every weekend on Marc's ass. And I think he'd beat him in some races. Obviously, they'd be trading blows. But I think Fabio has everything that, again, he's a world champion. But he's quick over a lap. He has good racecraft. When he gets out in front, if he's leading, if he's on a good bike and he gets out in front and he gets into a rhythm, what's the word they use? He's metronomic. You look at his lap times, they're pretty much consistent. So those 4 or 5 laps really kind of show that, Yamaha, get your act up. Because we need to see Marc and Fabio go at it again. What year did they go at it? Was it 2019? They went at it? Huh? 2019. Yeah, when he was on the
Petronas Yamaha.
The Petronas Yamaha again, which was what, a customer bike.
Yeah, but it was,
if I'm not mistaken.
It was a factory bike.
Yeah, all right, cool, factory. So, we got a glimpse. And again, Fabio's what, 26? Something like that. So, Marc's what, 32? Marc doesn't have much longer in the sport, so let's see what happens.
Yep. He needs to put himself in the position if he wants to be that guy.
Who?
Fabio.
I don't think Fabio. I don't think the issue is, again, the issue is not Fabio. The issue is the people that build this bike haven't built him a good bike in a long time.
I'm talking about even if Mark leaves, because Mark's got 6 years on him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of young cats to deal with if he wants to be that guy.
Yeah, and I don't think that's. I mean, who are the young cats? Fermin, Pedro.
Who else is coming up? Who else is coming up now? Because that's the thing.
DG. I mean, I look at all of these guys and I'm thinking if Fabio was on a better bike, he'd beat all of them easily. Even Alex
with experience. I think you know who's gonna be good. I think if I'm gonna go out there and say I was gonna reserve it, but I think Fermin may become a MotoGP champion before Pedro Acosta.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's a far shot.
But I'll get to Fermin because he's in the list, so I don't want to jump because I want to discuss Fermin a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there were certain things with Fermin that he's now showing. He's showing, and some folks that was wondering why did he sign to Ducati? Why did Ducati pick him up? And I'm like,
at such a young age.
Why Ducati pick him up? That's crazy. But yeah, let's go into the main race. Let's discuss Joan Zarco. I got to go straight into the winner. Right?
Viva la France. Viva la France. I mean,
who wrote that script?
Someone who wrote Les Miserables or something like that. Or who wrote Napoleon. I don't know, because no one saw that coming. No, man. And again, he was lucky. He was even lucky to still be in the race after what happened at turn 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah.
Joan Zarco, this is my thing with Joan Zarco, right? As you know, I've always liked Joan from back in the day. Because Joan Zarco was one of those riders when he was in the 125cc. Even commentators used to clown him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because remember, it was bridesmaids for a minute. Like, he just couldn't win a race. He used to get clowned. Commentators, they just used to clown on Zarco. And you know the thing is this is what I love with motorcycle, right? And this is what I love with certain riders who just shows pure grit, tenacity, and determination. Joan Zarco is the pinnacle of that type of rider. Because if you think about the riders that came through just before Joan with Joan, right? None of them are on the MotoGP grid anymore.
Like who?
And I'm talking about world champions.
Like who?
You got to think about Tito Rabat was a world champion. Paul Espargaro
was it Tito did 1-2-5, wasn't it?
Right. No, he won the Moto2 championship.
Moto2.
Right. So Espargaro, Rabat. Who else was Moto2 champion in that time who is no longer in the grid?
Stefan Bradl.
Augusto Fernandez. Stefan Bradl.
No, Stefan was...
He was... But I mean...
Stefan Bradl was in the Marquez era.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in that time, say from... Say 08, 9, 10, in that... Coming all the way down to, say, 2014, 2013, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just... Even without a time frame, just look at the riders since, say, 2018. A lot of champions are not on the grid.
True.
Right? Even though Johan still is the only two-time Moto2 champion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm saying this to say, when Johan was coming up in 125, and remember there was a race when he thought he won and he lost the race because he left early and it was there was another lap to go.
Was it not also in Le Mans.
I'm not. I don't remember where it was, right? But that happened, and he got clowned, right?
Yeah.
And he's stuck at it. And he's still in MotoGP to
Yeah.
2025.
Because
If you had asked someone those days if they think Joan Zarco would be one of those riders who would be on the MotoGP grid in 2025, they would tell you absolutely not.
Well, the thing, true, because some people are just late bloomers, and once you're a good rider, I think you'll always have an opportunity to be on the grid, and that's what he has always done. He's kept himself in the conversation by putting in good performances wherever he's ridden. You know what I
And
mean? So, you know, so
is,
kudos to him. You have to
is he,
take
he's
your
always
hat off to him that he's managed to outlast a lot of these guys who,
guys who are
again,
supposed to be more talented than him.
yeah, who this, but
Naturally talented than him.
but again, as he said, he's a two-time Moto2 champion, so that says a lot, and that in some ways probably works in his favor. But for the race, though, again, at the start, Enea, Pecco's old teammate, took him out of the race.
Yeah, hold on. Because let me just finish up with Zarco. So this is the thing, because a lot of people don't know this about Zarco, so I just want to put it out here, right? He's the first Red Bull Rookies champion, right? There's a couple of records that he still has, right? Still, as we just mentioned, most Moto2 championships.
Yeah.
Most podiums in a season, which is shared with great Marc Marquez, Pedro Acosta, and Esteve Rabat. Most consecutive podiums, 12, shared with Marc Marquez. Most points scored in a single season in 2015 at 352. And he also has the biggest title winning margin by points in 2015, which is 118.
That's madness. That's so, well, then again, so it
Right.
shows you. So all of those people who were cloning him, that goes to his performance in Moto2 goes to show that, you know, he's better than what they were actually thinking he was, and again, that's the reason why he's still on the grid to this day.
Yeah, I am him. He let him know that, yo, I'm that guy, right? And so Johan is still there, right? So congrats to Johan, kudos to him. It was a great win. It was a great ride. It was a very great ride. He decided on a strategy. He stuck to it. Boy pushed all his chips on red, and he won.
Yeah, and again, like I said, he got a bit lucky as well, because the crash that took out Pecco, there's a still of showing where he basically, I think Pecco literally, there was another bike that hit him. It wasn't Pecco's, there was someone else in between him and Pecco that hit him. Yeah.
Joan.
And he basically ran off track. And again, it's a good thing he wasn't going that fast, because then the bike would have probably tumbled over if he was going, because he ran into the gravel. Managed to get himself out, kept his head clean. And again, like he said, he chose the right strategy to stay on the wet tires after the first race suspension, when everybody else on the formation lap decided to go in and go for slick tires. They all knew it was going to rain. So he just kind of like, you know, like you said, he just stayed out there, kept his nose out of trouble, and waited until the rain came down, and now everybody had to switch bikes and just you know, control the race thereafter. But I was a bit frustrated listening to the commentary, because I watch it on TNT Sport over here, which is part of the Discovery Plus thing. Sorry. And I don't like watch MotoGP races and listening to Neil Hodgson. I have a problem with him. He has this tendency, I get it, he's an ex-rider, etc., superbike champion, etc. But he has a tendency to always be talking about rider's gonna crash. And the whole entire time I'm listening to the commentary, and he was like, oh, Johan, you need to slow down. You need to do this. You know, I'm scared he's gonna crash. And I'm thinking, in a situation like that, I don't think, because he was saying Lucio Cecchinello should be like coming out and telling Zarco that, you know, you can drop your pace and you can drop like half a second a lap. And I looked at him, I'm like, in a situation like that, I don't think you should be telling him anything.
Just let him
You,
ride.
you should just leave him because he's not built a rhythm. He's riding to a rhythm, right? He's not taking any undue risk. He's not developed a rhythm. Leave him to that because I feel like in a moment like that, if you then go out and start, tell him to, slow down, that could lead to him actually crashing.
Yeah, you just at the end of the day, the rider's on the bike. He's got the feet. He's in the rhythm. Because you got to remember, you start backing off, your tires go cold, and that's when you're down.
Exactly. Because the thing is, he went at one point, because when everybody pitted and they came back out, whatnot, his lead over Mark, I believe, was 8 seconds.
Yeah.
It was 8 seconds. He won the race by 20 seconds. That's when was the last time Mark finished P2 in a race and that far behind? Can't tell. Literally can't tell.
There's a caveat to that, though.
Yeah.
There's
yeah, obviously we know that, they pitted, etc. But if you look at it, he pulls 12 seconds.
You're not only the pitting. There's more caveat to it. Did you watch the after race stuff?
No, I didn't see that part.
I'll get into it. I'll tell you.
But anyway, like I said,
great,
congrats to him. But at the same time, I also felt like this was probably a missed opportunity for Fabio. Because prior to the whole chaos or the rain coming down, I think he was actually, and they got the double lap penalties. He took his first before Mark and Alex. And he came back out, and I think he came back out in fourth, which was probably less than a second or second and a half behind Mark, who was leading. So technically, Fabio was still leading the race. Because if you watch, before he took his penalty, he pretty much pulled over a second on Mark, and he seemed like he had pace. And again, where he crashed on that last corner, I was so disappointed because there was literally nothing he could do. And I saw Sylvain Guintoli was talking about that part of the track, and he said that part of the track is like ice. And he said the reason why is because that's the corner that the Le Mans cars use, and they tend to skip the curb. So when they land, it kind of like smooths. It basically just smooths out that part of the track, and that's pretty much where he rode over. And boom, there was literally nothing he could do. I mean, he got pissed off because he wanted to rejoin the race, and they were kind of like, yeah, we're not having that. And I don't know what the disagreement was with the marshals. Post-race, he ended up getting a fine and a penalty, which I felt like, the penalty was kind of like, yeah, that's over the top.
No, it's not. Actually, I think he should have gotten a bigger fine.
Why? No, fine. The fine. Okay, give him a bigger fine, but the penalty of saying
a penalty too because he crossed the live track, which was crazy. That was wild. And then the marshal was trying to take the motorcycle, and he slapped off his hand like.
Yeah, I mean, he's at home. It's his home race, and he wants to try and get back into the race.
Adrenaline is running high, so I'm not gonna kill him for it. But I think he should have, for especially for crossing a live track, he should have gotten a bigger fine for it.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's crazy.
Again, even and during that race, Pecco, jeez, if he thought he had an uphill task beating Mark to this year's championship, that task just got pretty much impossible now. Because, okay, he crashed out, mounted back on the bike. I think he was on the wet tires.
I take it you're not looking at, this is later, right? Pecco is the last person on the list.
Yeah, but we're talking about because, all right, cool.
Oh, freestyle, go.
No, Karen. Because you're going to have to edit out this part, right?
Yeah.
Let's just finish up Zarco.
Just to go. Yeah, Zarco, we kind of basically finished. It was a great thing to see experience in the
garage.
In the garage. But I'll come to that at the end, right? But
hold on. Just to add to that, that was the first race his mom has ever been to.
Yeah.
since he entered MotoGP. I said, that's our first race, and he won it.
It was written. That
She
was
might need to come. She might need to come to more races because she seems to be the good luck charm.
Yeah,
She
that
might
was-
need to come more. And again, who stopped? Who stopped the? Was it Was it Ducati who stopped the Honda? I believe win streak a while back, and now Honda stopped the Ducati win streak.
a whole lot of t-shirt I got to dump in the garbage.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was great for Zarco. And the thing is, he's actually in a certain company now because he's now one on two different motorcycles.
Yeah. What was his first race win on?
Ducati.
The
Phillip Island.
Ducati in Phillip Island. Yeah.
Yeah, so but great one to Zarco. That was a good ride. It was a great ride. Kept it together, brought it home. It was good to see, right? That's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to discuss on it, but we get to that at some point later on in the year. So looking at finish off on Quartararo as well. So his fine was €2,000 and 10
And they
minutes
banned him 10 minutes for the first 10 minutes.
the British GP.
British GP, which is what, next weekend?
Yes, next weekend. All right, so
This isn't Le Mans also next weekend.
I haven't checked yet.
Okay, cool.
So next man on our topic list is Marc Marquez. Right, hot all weekend, lost out to Fabio in the pole position shootout.
Which you shouldn't have lost.
Won
Okay.
the sprint,
6 of 6.
right, and finished second in the race on Sunday. Which is why I said to you there was a caveat to it, right? So when they interviewed him, he said, yeah, when he switched bikes and he came out and he saw Zarco was 8 seconds up the road, he said he pushed for like 2 laps and then he realized that to eat into that gap, I'm gonna have to take too much risk. And he's thinking about Kota and Erith, and he was like, nah, I need to take these points right now, because he was like, so what he did say after the flag on MotoGP, I'm paraphrasing now. Basically, he was just saying that if Kota and Erith crashes didn't happen, probably would have crashed here in France, because he would have gone for it, right? So the thing is, what I was looking at, I'm like, okay, you seem to be really getting it together and realize that, yo, you need to just bring this championship home, right? Don't worry about like being on every pole, winning every race. Just rack up the points and bring the championship home, right? So if he's thinking that way, right? And there was a few other things, because if you remember, so when he crashed out in Erith, there was another thing that he said. He mentioned that he realizes now that the motorcycle that he's on, he doesn't need to be taking those risks initially, right? He knows now that he could run 4 or 5 laps behind someone, get the tires up to temperature, then he could go. Because the thing is that he's got over everyone, even his brother said it, right, was that no one has a candle to mark on worn tires. So I guess that's his strategy now. He knows that I could sit behind you. I don't have to go all gung-ho, because I know once these tires start dropping off, no one ain't better than me. And I'm looking at it like, well, if he's going to ride this way, I'm all for it, because you cannot not bring home the championship for Ducati. He can.
I mean, the championship is pretty much won already.
Fail, right?
I'm pretty much, I said that to you like, what, 2-3 races ago? Championship is over.
Yeah, you said that, but I now also said to you, this is motorcycle racing.
Yeah.
It takes, for him to bring home the championship, he has to ride with his brain, right?
But that was literally my argument. I said to you, the only way Mark doesn't win this championship is unless he crashes. That's his only competition in this season is himself, and whether he crashes or not.
So what this weekend did, though, he finally broke that 50-point gap over Pecco. He's 22 ahead of He's 22 ahead of Alex. So now he could ride in a certain way, whereas like, because Pecco now has got a gap that he really has to fill, right?
A gap that he's not gonna fill. Let's be honest, dude. Come on. Why are we trying to beat around the bush here? Pecco is not gonna close that gap tomorrow. You can actually say, Marc Marquez is the 2025 MotoGP champion.
Hey man, as I said, I've seen motorsport. Hey, I've seen motorsport bite people, so I'm not gonna be one of them. Because I'm not gonna be one of those people that I just let the season play out. This is motorsport. This is motorsports. This is MotoGP, right? This is not car racing where you probably crash in the wall or you got protection. This is MotoGP. One simple crash, the collarbone is done.
But again,
the scaffold is gone.
But that's why I said. But that you keep repeating the same thing I said to you before. The only way he loses his championship is if he crashes. If he stays on the bike, he wins the championship. That's all he needs to do.
Yeah.
And that's what he needed to do in Jerez, and that's what he needed to do in Quarta, and he didn't do that. And he realized that this weekend, and it shouldn't have taken for a wet race for him to realize that.
Because the thing is, right, Marc will always push the boundaries. Because that's the thing that I love with Marc, right? He may have said this weekend, and he goes into Great Britain and do the total opposite.
Of course, he's going to do exactly what he's been doing all year. He's going to go into each race looking to dominate.
That's the thing that I personally love with Marc, right? He's not a conservative guy, right?
Exactly.
And that's what makes him good for the show. He's always going to go gunno. He's always going to do something. You'll be like, man, this guy. I always say to people, right? To be a Marc Marquez fan, you have to have a strong heart and a good nervous system. Because trust. Huh?
Why?
Because of the way he rides. He's just like, man, like this dude.
Yeah, that was when he was on the Honda.
It makes it fun. No, we could say that. You can't say that because he crashed out of 2 races so far this season.
Yeah, but when you compare it to the bike, this Ducati to the Honda required a specific way of riding it. This Ducati, if I'm not mistaken, I think he said the limit of this Ducati is basically it has no limits.
Yeah, and he doesn't know it yet. And what we know about Marc.
Exactly. Okay, exactly. So if he hasn't gotten to the limit of the bike, right? And he's handily beaten everybody. Again, he's only lost 2 races because he crashed out of them. Yeah. Right? And he's handily beaten everybody. What do you think happens when he does find the limit? So right now he's riding, if I'm not putting a number, I think he's riding at 90% of his potential. Because the bike is that good, he doesn't need to go above and beyond. So when he was on the Honda, again, how many people won races on that Honda when he was there? Name one.
Apart from
Rins.
I think the last Honda winner was before Zarco. Yesterday was Rins.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Marc Marquez was at Honda for how many years? From 2013 to
2023.
Yeah, so that's 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can only name one other person who's won a race on that Honda in that 10 years. One. So it tells you that Honda required a specific way of riding.
More than one people.
Who else?
Carl Crutchlow.
Carl Crutchlow. Yeah, he won a race.
Carl Crutchlow.
Right.
No, more than one race is Carl won.
Okay. But you get the point I'm trying to make here. So so when you compare how he's riding the Ducati to how he rode the Honda, they're not the chalk and cheese. It's easier for him to ride the Ducati than it was to ride the Honda. So he doesn't need to go full gun-ho every single race. So because he knows.
Correct. You're correct. However, this is Marc. At some point, he's gonna. Okay, this is how it may go, right? He may eke out a massive lead in the championship where it gets down to like the last 4 races, and he has such a lead, and he goes crash.
But again,
find the limit of the motorcycle.
But by that time, the championship is already over.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's the type of person that he is, right? And even though you just still gotta factor in these things, right? But you're right. If he doesn't make a crap show of it, right?
Championship.
The guy knows how to win championships. I'm not even worried about that,
Look,
right?
he's won 8 championships across his entire career.
Right.
6 MotoGP, 1 125, and 1 Moto2. The guy is not a mug. So which is why I keep which is why I still can't understand why you're so against just saying, look, there's no one gonna beat him.
No, I'm the reason why I'm against it is actually you're looking at a clean cut and you say, yeah, you're factoring this. I'm just not gonna say it, right? I'm just not. I'm cool. I'll wait until next year, right?
I'm on record of saying this.
If he doesn't crash, yeah, but we know I cannot speak about MotoGP and motor racing without factoring in the things that could happen, right? So the championship is not a given.
Well, for me, look, I said it 2-3 races ago. The championship is over. Marc is just pretty much on a season-long tour because Pecco is broken. Pecco has nothing for him.
Because you got to remember, Marc got certain issues that he's living with. You got to remember this. If Marc could even get a what do you call it? A chatter on that bike and his diploma kicks back in, and all of a sudden he's sitting out 5-6 races. That's what I'm saying to you, which is why I'm like, I just want to see him go through the championship, get his title. I just let him do his thing. I'm not gonna jinx it.
Right. Well, I'm on record. You know where I stand with it, so we can just put that one to bed. That's championship over.
It's crazy you change your tone so quick after Pecco.
What do you mean?
Because when I was talking about what this was gonna be, you think Pecco is a mug? I'm like, he's not a mug. But he's gonna get.
He's
watched.
not a mug. No, but hold on. There was what I said was, I think Pecco is gonna give him a real fight for the championship. Because Pecco is, and let's be honest, Pecco is no mug.
He's not a mug.
We can't sit here and say Pecco is a mug. He's not. I said he's going to give him a real fight for the challenge for the championship. That was my expectation, and he's not living up to my expectation because now you realize that Marc is literally head and shoulders above him. Marc just has the advantage on him, and I'm right, and I've rightly said it. Come out and said, yeah, Pecco is done. There's nothing he has for Marc.
So the next man up is Alex Marquez, right? At his first DNF for the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come at some point. Better to get it out of his system now. He finished second in the sprint. He actually crashed twice in the main race.
You know what? I knew he was going to crash the second time because you see his first crash. He landed on the left side of the bike, right on the front fairing, hit the heaviest, and I think his handlebar was bent because there was a moment you saw on the long straight. You could see the I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's the clutch or whatever it is. The brake pedal on his left hand side. You could literally see it's bent. And I looked at him like the way the bike landed. I was like, yo, that handlebar is bent, and I think that probably affected why he crashed that second time, because he crashed on the straight.
Yeah, I think
he pretty much high-sided.
No, he didn't high-side. He hit the brake and it just blam, slam. He didn't high-side him. Yeah, it was just it's just a front wash. He just hit the brake and the thing just
washed out.
And it was just instant. He didn't even start tipping it in. It's just as soon as he hit the brake, that thing just went. And he couldn't continue because his bike was damaged at that point. But the crazy thing is, after the first crash, he still rejoined in 6th. So he was going in for a good setup all the points.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but
but that's to show you how big the gaps were between everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, he was gonna come at some point, right? It's better for it to come now than when he's probably close to the end of the championship and a crash drop him to 4th.
And I mean, he's now 22 points behind Marc. I mean, wasn't he that far behind at one point before Marc's at quota as well? So, we pretty much know Marc's gonna give you another couple crashes again this season. It's pretty much guaranteed. It's not.
I could see him going on a run. I could see him going on a run before the next crash, because I think.
Yeah, but how much of a run are you talking about?
He could do a run. I could do a 2019 run. He's got that in it, because the thing is, after Coda, it wasn't talking about, this is my head. But after this one, he was like, yeah, if Coda and Jerez didn't happen, as I said, I probably would have crashed today. So I think now he's clicking into championship mode. I think he's just about to click in championship mode, whereas he's realized that, okay, I need to pick up the points. If Alex is faster than me on any given Sunday, I just need to just stay second. I think, and once he gets into that championship winning mode, that's when you see him start. If anyone is going to be, you see him first, second, third on the podium, or first, second, right?
Which is what he has been so far this year, prior to the 2 crashes.
So now I think he's going into championship mode, whereas he realized that, okay, now I built up a 51-point lead over my teammate, 22 over my brother, right? Now I could really start managing this thing going. Because I think he's going to run I think he's going to try to increase. I think he's going to try to go into the summer break with like an 80-point buffer.
Yeah, but here's my thing, counter to that. He had a bigger lead than that over Alex before he crashed out in Kota. But did he not? So why did it take him 2 crashes for him to decide now to go into championship mode?
Yeah, because it's like what everyone wants it, right? The flyaway races, you're banging the points. That's when you're ironing out stuff. Stuff happens.
But those are the races he shouldn't be crashing out in. Those are the races he should be banking the points.
Lies in it now, be like, yo, because I think now he realized that there was a bit of redemption. The fact that Pecco crashed out, right? Alex crashed out. Now he's back to the point gap that he should have actually had, right? Based on his performance, right? It should be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it should be over Pecco. It should have definitely been about 60 points.
Yeah, so right now
70 points.
So because he dropped off 50 points, right? He gained back 20. This past weekend pushed him to 51 over Pecco.
No, he gained more than 20 this weekend over Pecco. He gained
32. Because
he won the sprint. Yeah, so he gained 30. No, 32 over Pecco.
Yeah, 32 over Pecco this weekend. So, and the thing is, the problem now is this. He could even go the Martin route. Whereas, like, if I could just keep winning these sprints, where I could 12, 13 laps and pick up 12 points every weekend,
The problem with going the Martin route is that would only work if Pecco was winning races. But Pecco is not winning races. So
but the race, because the sprint race on the Saturday, that's the first points that you're going to come across that you could bag, right? So if he could just keep keeping Pecco behind him and keep bagging those points, he knows that, okay, even if Pecco beat me in a race, right? A Grand Prix, even if I finish third behind Alex and Pecco, I'm almost guaranteed to go into the next race in a sprint and claw back some of that, because I know that he's not performing in this. You know what I'm saying? It's just.
Even if he wins a sprint and loses the main race, he probably still outscore Pecco. Probably either outscore him or they level in points. Because say, for instance, if he wins a sprint, finish second, that's 32. Pecco wins the main race, 25, and finishes what? What you get for the second in the sprint? Is it 10 points?
Second in the sprint, I think it's 9 points.
9. So then, it would only be a 2-point difference between the two of them. That's something he can live with.
Yeah. So, which is why I think he's gone into. I think you're gonna see him going into championship winning mode right now, bro. I think that's where he's at now. He just realized that, you know what? I just need to stop messing around. I already dropped 50 points. I clawed back some of it this weekend, and now I'm sitting 51 above my teammate and 22 above my brother. That's a good clawback, right?
Man, I'm surprised you're saying he's going in. Anyway, like I said, he's already won the championship, so.
Yeah, but when I say championship winning mode, it's more like because the thing is, you could have the Marc Marquez just gonna, even though he's just gonna be like, I gotta win, right? And then you have the Marc Marquez who are like, okay, you know what? And this, I could go get him, but you know what? There's too much risk involved. So I think we're seeing the Marquez now assessing his risk in order to not bin it, right? Okay. Because your next crash, all of a sudden you're 26 points ahead of Pecco. You can't afford that, because as much as I dog Pecco, you never know, it may click because he usually comes on later at the end of the season, right? Usually mid-season. However, the difference this year, he didn't find anything in the RS test. That's the key difference. Everyone thought he was going to come over from the RS test with something, and he didn't. So his next chance is going to be Misano, who's where's Misano on the calendar? September. That's San Marino.
Yeah, that's in September.
The championship is almost finished by then.
Championship's already done, dude. Stop,
Yeah,
the championship almost finished.
Yeah.
Championship's done, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, that's Alex Fermin. Let's touch on Fermin real quick. Like, so this rookie, right? People always wondered why did Ducati sign Fermin? The kid came with pedigree, man. The kid is got talent, right? And
first full podium, official race podium now. So two podiums in the same race weekend. Was it two third place finishes?
He's been fast since Kota. So the third race in the season is when he actually figured it out. Even though he crashed, he was running fifth. So Kota, so he's been showing consistent speed, right? And the thing is with Fermin as well, Fermin came an unconventional route into MotoGP.
Where did he come out? It came up through the what's that? The Red Bull Rookies?
No, it did the European Talent Cup. Right? It did the FIM Stock 600 European Championship. Stock, bro. It did the Moto2 Championship. This FIM CEV Moto2 Championship.
That's in Spain, isn't it?
Yeah, where he won that, right? And then he did Moto E as well in 2020. So they did Moto E in 2021, and then they picked him up in 2022 for Bosco picked him up for the speed up in 2022. And he did 22, 23, and 24, right? And his best finish was third in 2023. Then he finished fifth in 2024, right? So even though last year he came based on how he finished the 2023 season, he was one of the favorites, but he just didn't get going for him. But he still finished fifth, so that's not even a bad job, right? Obviously now, when Ducati signed him, then they lumped him into MotoGP, and people were still questioning it. But when you see a rider who comes through unconventional routes and they come to Moto2 and they can perform, they can win races, and he's consistently there, right? Because in 2023 he won 4 races, and then he won 5 races. He won the last 4 races of that season. Yeah. Right. And then in 2024, which is last year, he was 16 in the first race. Then he went 4th, 3rd, 1st, 7th, retired, 2nd, 1st, 12th, 20th, retired, 6th, 5th, 4th, 12th, 1st, retired, right? And then 9th in the final race. So it wasn't a horrible season by the stretch, right? But when you look at this, you could see that he's got speed. And in Moto2, if you could show that consistently, there's a chance that you could cut it in MotoGP, right? And the fact that he came to such an unconventional route and to the point now where he's in MotoGP and he's fast on a MotoGP bike, that's talent for me, bro. That talent is more impressive to me. I'm looking at that like that's a special talent, right? And his 5th race, 6th race on a MotoGP bike, he's already, Fermin is the truth, right? And I think as long as Ducati keep him and keep developing, I think he's got. That's why I say I think he could be champion before even Pedro.
So you're saying he's a future factory rider?
Fermin?
Yeah.
Even before Digi.
Even before Digi.
Yeah, because you got to remember, he's more talented than Digi. Right?
Yeah, but you said experience counts, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah, experience counts, right? So even both of them could end up there. But I think if I'm going to put money on it, long term, I'm going with Fermin over Digi.
Fair enough.
Right, because you got to remember, Fermin has been there since he's been performing, as I say, crashed out of Kota. But yeah, I future prospect, I put my money in Fermin. I put my money in.
Okay.
Right. But yeah.
Again, like I said, it was it was an impressive weekend from him as well, because he qualified. He also qualified well.
Yeah, he qualified well.
Yeah. So I mean, and then to put it on again, he rode a smart. Because you think in conditions like that for a rookie on a bike like that, it's likely that he'd make a mistake. He didn't really make a mistake. And I think at one point, wasn't he not something like 6 seconds behind Acosta or something like that? I can't remember, but
Yeah.
caught him, passed him and Maverick, pass, and what? He got the third because got that position because Alex then crashed.
Yeah, Alex crashed. But not only that, so with Pedro, there's caveat to how he passed. So Pedro was on I think he was on the medium wet tires. Everyone who was on the soft just had way more grip. Right. So when he see it came up on Pedro and just left him. Right, because he was on the soft and Pedro was on the medium. Right, but Fermin has been riding good since Kota, bro. Right, and he's just quietly creeping up.
Well, let's see if he carries on over the next couple of races. Then you definitely know that he's finally gotten his head around the whole requirements, what it takes to perform in MotoGP, and he's now fully up to speed with the Ducati. So, like you said, they've invested a lot in him. They put him on a GP25 bike. To put a rookie on.
GP24 he's on. The only other rider on a GP25
so
is Fabio and Antonio.
Okay, so he's on a GP24, and he's performed. Him and Alex, and he's performing well on it as well. So that just shows you that they made the right decision in bringing him, signing him early. So let's see how he goes on with that for the rest of the rest of the year. Then
look at this. This is progress, right? His first race, which is Thailand, he finished 13th, right? In Argentina, he fell back and he finished. Finished 16th, right? In the USA, he DNF'd because he crashed out of 5th, right? So Martin crashed, he was running in a good position, right? Then he went to Qatar, he finished 5th in Qatar, right? Then he went to Spain. Where is he at? Where is he at? Fermin. He DNF'd in Spain again from out of good position. And then now he finished, 4th just now?
Yeah.
Third. So when he's not crashing, apart from the first 2 races, when he's not crashing, he's he's in good position. So he's coming on well.
And again, he's on one of the best bikes, and the bike that won the championship last year. So yeah,
he's a good kid, man. I've faith in him too. Right. So what we've been waiting for, the bombshell, Martin allegedly looking to exercise his clause to get out of this Aprilia contract. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it seems a bit of an odd thing to be happening at this early, and given he's only ridden one race. He didn't even finish the race for them. But to my understanding, I saw something on pop up on my Twitter feed that apparently he's not being paid by Aprilia whilst he's out injured. They've only given him one installment payment, and that was for, where did he crash out? Was it
Qatar?
Qatar. That's the one installment payment he's gotten, and apparently compare that to when Marc had his issue and he was out for a while, Honda was still paying him. So as it seems to be, the issue here is, I don't know, again, allegedly, that this decision is more on the basis that they're not paying him whilst he's out injured. Which to me, if he's injured, I think you still should pay him.
Is that how you chalk it up?
Huh?
Is that how you chalk it up?
Well, that's how I see it. And also, does it also spells that there's trouble in the back office at Aprilia, Are they looking to exit the sport or something like that? He's picked up something to say in that regard. So why he's looking to jump ship now?
So the counter on what you just said about you think they should be paying him morally, yes, but doesn't if that's the case, as you said, allegedly, right? You just saw it somewhere across your feed, so
Repeat again.
wouldn't you chalk that up to a bad contract that he signed?
In what way?
Because if you've got a contract and if you're injured, you're not getting paid. So there's two things there. If that's the truth,
Mm-hmm.
did he sign a bad contract, or is Aprilia playing dirty? Because I can't see a team signing a rider and in his contract, if it says, yeah, even in injury, you should continue to get paid, and then they don't pay him. Right? Or is it just a bad? Or can it be could it be? Because they paid him for Qatar, so unless you're looking at the crash that he did in training, the big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's a tricky one. If that's, as you say, allegedly, right? I'm just trying to make sense of it. I would probably be like, yo, that sounds like there's a bad contract was signed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to make your contract bulletproof. You got to make your contract protect you in injuries. Because this sport, you could lose your life, you could lose your limbs. So what's going on? Why would he not get paid? Did he just sign a contract where his lawyer or his management didn't read the fine print?
Well, I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I don't think his lawyers wouldn't have read the fine print. I think that because once it comes to monetary thing, that's probably what you're going to read the most. You want to know what the monetary aspects of your contract is going to be, any penalties, whatever, bonuses, etc., etc., etc. So I don't think that's the case. But it does seem an odd thing to just happen out of the blue. You've not even ridden the bike for 2 races, and you're already looking to jump ship. I think the more this new, I think we'll know more by the time we get to Silverstone, because right now we're pretty much speculating as to what that is.
We're just going based off what we've heard and what we've seen out there, right? Because the reason why I asked that, because if I was in a contract that allows me to get paid, I said I should get paid when I'm out injured, right? And if I'm not getting paid, I don't need to wait until whenever. I'll just exit that contract now. Because you already done me dirty and not pay me. So I wouldn't even give you, say, hey, I'm going to exit that. Nah, I want to leave now because you're not paying me. You see what I'm saying? So to me, when I look at it that way, there must be something in his contract that isn't right. Because no one is going to sit and be like, well, you ain't pay me, but when I come back, I'll ride for a couple races and see. So that's one thing that's out there. The way I'm looking at like, okay, Martin hasn't ridden the bike properly, right? And from what I'm hearing, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is allegedly the rumors are he's giving Aprilia, I think 6 races from whenever he returns to prove that they could get a bike up to speed to compete. But I'm like, what are you looking at? You're looking at Bezzecchi's performance. You're looking at Raul Fernandez's performance. You're looking at Ayagura's performance, right? On paper, you're a better rider than all these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make any sense for him to be sitting and looking at what they're doing on the motorcycle and think, well, that looks like a horror show. What he did in Qatar, I don't think he could even use that as well to use that as a measuring stick because you weren't 100% fit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The next thing that I'm thinking is that for this to be coming out now, for seems like there's some troubles, there's some problems going on in the camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said,
is it fair to say that he crashed in preseason twice? Well, one of the crashes sent him to the hospital, right? Then on his training, on his way back, he crashed again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back to Qatar and crashed again. So, would you be mad at Aprilia if they're a bit frustrated?
Yeah, but again, we've seen incidents where riders are coming back from injury and are doing training and then have another injury again.
Yeah.
Why? So it's not an unusual thing. And again, it's not like he purposely put himself in a position whereby he knows he's going to sustain an injury and still went ahead anyway and get that injury. So why would Aprilia would be frustrated? It's very likely that, okay, say that incident didn't happen on his recovery and he came back and he crashed out of that first race, came back and crashed again. What would the frustration be? He's crashing because probably because the bike is not good, similar to when Marquez was having his issues and he was literally crashing every other week on that Honda.
So that's one question. So the reason why I'm going further. So now, your take on that. So now I'm looking at like, okay, how was he treated by Aprilia, or Aprilia, they say, when he was left in the hospital in Qatar? What type of support did he get from Aprilia? Because now we got to be looking at all of these things as to be why you would just jump out the window now and be like, yo, I want to exit my contract. Because he couldn't be, because he hasn't ridden the bike long enough to get a good sample size of what the bike is going to do, or what are the potential of the bike, right? And I'm assuming that these people who are representing him, lawyers and stuff, are clever enough to make sure that they know injuries are part of motorsport. There's no way they would sign a contract that he doesn't get paid if he's injured, even if he's not injured at the racetrack. Exactly. So you see, I'm kind of eradicating the things that I said just now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So none of those really make sense. So now we're at the crash in Qatar. He was left in Qatar for a week, right? What was said to him? What type of support did he get? Because now
like you said, there's definitely more. I think the more we get into this, the more we find out, because things will eventually leak. Because it just seems an odd thing to just come out of the blue and like, was it yesterday the news broke? Yesterday the news broke, right? Was it yesterday? Yesterday or late Sunday?
Or late Sunday, one of them.
One of them time the news broke. For it to just happen just like that, it just, again, it's coming from left field. No one saw it coming. Tells me that there's more. There's definitely more to this, and hopefully we will find out. We will get some more information. But it's an odd thing, because I was like, wow, why are you not? Is it that Aprilia? Can't pronounce the name properly. Aprilia having issues in the background that he now looks at and probably thinks, yeah, this is probably the wrong place for me. Let me try and jump ship now before I get pushed or something. And then the next question now is, if he leaves, where is he going?
Okay, I'm glad that you asked that, right? So, I think I was listening to my guy. I think it's my guy Simon Patchison on their podcast on the race, and they threw a few things out there, right? That because his manager and Pedro Acosta manager, they're managed by the same person, and basically what they were saying is that they probably want to leave Aprilia or let under you that Martin is probably going to be available, so he could go to HRC. Because it looks like Luca Marini is going to be out, right? So
hold on a second. Just mention something about Luca Marini, because I was listening to commentary on Sunday. And apparently Luca Marini has been in the top 10 in every race this year.
Probably, yeah. He's been he's
been in the top. How? He's been in the top 10 in every race this year. So then now we're gonna have to ask a question because he's on the what? He's on the factory bike.
Yeah, he's on the HRC team, the Castrol.
So if he's in the top 10, he's been in the top 10 every race. So who's his teammate again? Is it Reigns?
Joan Mir.
Joan Mir. And he's been stinking up the place.
Yesterday wasn't his fault, but yeah, he's been crashing a lot.
So he's been stinking up the place. So is it Marini that might be losing his seat, or is it Joan Mir?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you. The thing is, Luca Marini is a steady pair of hands, right? Steady guy. You could bring up some points, but I think for Luca Marini to win a MotoGP race, it's got to be exceptional circumstances.
Yeah, but you probably said the same thing for Joan Mir as well.
No, Joan Mir is a world champion.
Yeah, but he's not performing like a world champion now, is he? He's getting outperformed by Marini.
Nah, but
who's Marini ahead of him in the standings?
If he's ahead of,
yeah.
If you're asking if he's ahead of someone,
yeah. Who's isn't
Luca Marini sits 13th in the championship and 37 points,
and Joan Mir
12 points
is 19th.
And guess what? Nakagami is 2 points behind Joan Mir. Only ever raced once this year.
So it is okay. So then, whose seat is more likely up for grabs?
Crazy.
So when we were here basically blasting Marini the other day, he's quietly been the better of the two factory riders.
Yeah, but I always say Marini's a steady pair of hands, right? He's a decent chance to bring you some points, maybe develop a bike, but that's all you're gonna get from Luca Marini. I don't think you're going to get multiple race wins from Luca Marini, as I said, unless it's exceptional circumstances, right? And you ask a question, whose seat? Both those seats could go.
True, because there's a conversation going on with Toprak in World Superbikes.
All right, let me do this. Let me do this. Let me just dismiss that. I'm not even.
Well. The argument that
we bring Toprak to MotoGP, bring Bolega back.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What they're saying is Toprak's path. What they're talking about is Toprak would join the HRC World Superbike team next year, which would mean he'd replace either Viheri, I can't pronounce his name, and Ika Locono, right? One of them would get replaced. He'd do a year on the factory World Superbike and then come into MotoGP in 2027 with the new regs, with the Pirelli tires, etc. But again, I'm somewhat with you on that one. I don't know what this push to get Toprak into MotoGP just seems like far-fetched to me, because like you said, when he did the test on the Yamaha, they weren't impressed because he wasn't that quick. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a few things that went into that. But however, right, don't want to go too much on Toprak, but the thing is for me, man, the thing that I try not to be so brutal. Ultimately, Toprak won. So what he did on the BMW, a lot of people see that as great, right? Super great. One on the BMW. How many championship got with the BMW? One, right?
One, yeah. He's the first. He has 2 championships on a Yamaha and the BMW.
No one. So people are going to act like they're not going to talk about the super concession that BMW had.
And they still had the concessions last year as well, even whilst he was winning the championship.
Yeah. So
and let's be honest, they pretty much nerfed the Ducatis last year because
it was a super concession, but that's why they plugged it back this year. So I'm like, come on, guys. I'm not that stupid. You could force this Top Rack thing now. He's a talented rider, but he was on a super concession bike last year. That BMW that won the championship.
Yeah.
So let's
Plus,
keep it up.
and like I said, plus they nerfed the Ducatis because they brought in mandatory weight limits. They limit revs. They brought in I think that there's fuel flow because in this year's Bulega just won the last 3 races at Como, I think the circuit. I can't remember the name. Comona.
Right.
Dominated the weekend. I think they're gonna have to they're gonna look at performance levelers, and apparently they're gonna possibly adjust the fuel flow rate for the next coming race just to bring it back in line to the BMW, basically.
Yeah, so that Top Rack win on championship on the BMW, I'm not as impressed as most people. I get it. He's a talented rider, but I could look in the camera. I am not impressed. I'm cool. That's a super concession BMW motorcycle that just had a lot of stuff that the rest of the guys didn't have. And they plugged back the Ducati. So, yeah, I said it. I'm not impressed. Before you bring Top Rack to MotoGP, let's bring Bulega back. I'd rather see Bulega back in riding a MotoGP bike than Top Rack right now. You know, he's talented. He's super talented for Superbike for me. Yeah, I'm looking dead in the camera.
Was he in MotoGP? I don't remember Bulega being in MotoGP.
He was in Moto 2.
Moto 2, and then he went to World Super Sport, dominate one World Super Sport, then because this is his second year in World Superbike.
Yeah, so if you're gonna bring a rider over, let's bring Bulega back. I'm cool on the top.
Yeah, but you have to remember Bulega is in the Ducati camp, so it's a different sort of thing, transition.
Yeah, he could. I'm sure they could find a space for him.
Well, yeah, because more likely somebody on that one of those Ducatis are going to get.
Because you got to remember, if DJ don't get his act together on that motorcycle, he's going to be up for grabs too.
And Bulega is still in the VR46 camp.
Yeah.
There you go.
So if Bulega could go over here and just dominate this World Superbike championship, I could see him coming back.
But anyway, we kind of like deviate a bit. Let's go back to Martin. The question asked is, where is he going to go if he leaves Aprilia?
As I said, I'm here now. Shout out to my guys over at, my guys, I only know Simon over there. Shout out to Simon and his team over there. Val, and I don't remember the other guy's name. I apologize. Not like they listen to our podcast, but if they do.
Why they're not listening to our podcast? That's the question.
I don't know. I think because they're running a whole media house over there.
No, they're supposed to listen to our podcast. That's no excuse.
That's what I'd like to get to. But yeah, over there they were putting a theory together that, hey man, the play could be to have Martin, to have Honda get wind that Martin could be available, stall up. Who they're trying to sign to see how that plays out. And the play, I think they're saying to have probably Pedro and Martin on the factory bike. But then again, I mean, Pedro is probably going to stay put at KTM.
Well, really? Because remember, KTM still haven't resolved their financial situation fully as yet. So it's possible that he could be looking to jump. Because there's even talks that Bastianini might be looking to leave KTM as well. Where is he going to go? So I think the merry-go-round for 2027 will be an interesting one because...
hey, man. Still a season. And let me ask you this. Who you think is going to... Even though we're hearing about Martin, who you think is going to set that avalanche? Who you think is going to remove that brick that's going to bring the whole silly season now stumbling down?
When? For Mark? Because you said Mark has a contract to next year.
I think everyone runs out of contract next year.
So everybody's in line.
I think everyone is in line. I think.
I can see Ducati retaining Marc and Pecco for 27. I can see that. Huh?
Would it be crazy if... I'm glad that you said that because I had forgotten. I had it in my notes, but I totally slipped, went over it. So let me ask you this. If this season continues to go, I was going on Pecco doesn't find farm, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas like Mark and Alex just dominates him, and say, for instance, someone like a Fermin finds his feet, and now Pecco is, would it be crazy to see Ducati say, you know what? Let's give Martin the shot that he had deserved.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you said his contract ends 2026, so he could bounce back in 2026.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm just because at this point we just gotta just throw things out there and see what sticks, right? Because we don't know. This MotoGP, you never know. Because guess what? Even though he's got a contract for that time, Martin's about to jump out of a contract, so they were the paper written on.
And the thing with the Martin thing is, will Martin want to go to Ducati? Because I'm sure he feels slighted by them.
I'm sure if he has a winning bike. I'm sure not if he would.
I think Martin still feels slighted by Ducati. So
he still feels slighted, but I still think if they could call in on him, right, and because he's super confident, he probably like, well, Pecco couldn't do it. I could do it. I can do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to go up against Marc. I don't care what they did to me, because guess what? I'm coming to tear this house down. I'm going to take down the champion, and I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? So, Martin is a little.
But here's my counter to that.
Yeah.
What if Ducati decides to go with Alex?
Alex is my guy. I cannot see that.
Why not?
I
because you just said if he beats Pecco, right, and Fermin, why not go with Alex?
It's not far-fetched, right? I cannot see that one. I cannot see Ducati, Alex, and unless you're saying that.
Do you want me to use the time stone?
If Alex finishes second and goes into next year
and does the same thing again,
why not
look at him as a possible?
Because at that point, proven, right?
Yeah,
back to back, right?
If you want, I can use the time stone, I can use the time stone and go forward in time and come back.
I don't think the thing is, I don't think they'll choose Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll probably give Alex and it depends on because you got to remember the Gresina thing is a private. They don't have as much money as some of the teams, unless they broker a deal where now all of a sudden Alex gets a
GP 2026 or whatever it is.
26, whatever deal they broker with Gresini, and now he gets the extra GP 26. Because you got to remember, they got Fermin. The thing is, I don't think they have a lot to do with Digi. I don't think Digi is going to ever make it to the factory team.
Mm.
Yeah, because I don't think Digi is that guy. Digi, even through his Moto2 career, he never impressed me. When he won the race in Qatar, right? It was more of a Frankie Carcetti thing, right? It was more his race engineer just figured it out. He gave him a nice setting and he figured it. So now, based on that building block, it just got him to do top 10s, top 6s.
Yeah, but I don't think he can just say it because of his engineers. But I mean, if his engineers figured it out for Qatar, why they haven't figured it out for anywhere else?
Because that's what I'm saying. Frankie Carcetti, when he worked with him, they just figured it out at the end of the year, right? But that's not his engineer anymore.
Where is that? Where is Frankie? Is with Marc?
So Frankie was with Marc last year. So
Okay.
Digi had moved on, and then Frankie got Marc. But I just don't see Digi as that talent where I see Ducati saying, "Hey, we're gonna bring you to the factory team," because he hasn't really showed that much. Yeah, he's got one race win, right? But I've never seen Digi as that guy.
Well then, right. so then it's Fermin, Alex, and Martin. Who you picking? And then we end it on that.
I'm picking Fermin, Alex, and Martin. Who am I picking? I'd probably go Martin. Okay. Just for the fact that I want to see based on what he did on the Pramac, I think he deserves a shot in full red. Right? I think he deserves a shot, and I think he deserves to go up against the GOAT.
See, we come back full circle, because that's what I said. Based on what he did on that Pramac Yamaha, he deserved that. He deserved that chance.
Get that shot right
at Ducati, yeah. But
yeah, bro. So that's But the Martin thing, we just need to keep looking out on that and see what's going on with that, right? Need to see what's going on with that because that was a bombshell. Didn't see that coming.
That's a nuclear bomb.
And as I said, hey man, Martin is becoming the nuclear bomb dropper because he did it when he signed for Aprilia, and now he did it again, right?
Well, I mean, they pretty much knew he was going to leave Pramac, and he was going to leave Pramac last year. So was it really a nuclear bomb? But
yes, it was because no one knew. Remember, he broke the news before anyone knew that Marquez was signed, and that kind of derailed Ducati's party because Martin dropped it first and just crashed that whole party. Yeah, you ain't gonna get to tell them that you signed Mark over me. I'll tell him that I'm signing to Aprilia, and he just derailed that. So that was a bombshell. Right, but let's see. Let's keep our eyes on all the MotoGP to see how that story develops. If we'll see or hear anything or any official statement from his camp or from the Aprilia camp.
Yeah, because we've not heard anything from Martin yet. It's just been speculated. But what's the saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So to wrap it up now. So now we're 6 races in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's impressed you the most so far with 6 races gone?
Well, obviously, Marc tops the list. But I think, actually, no, I'm not even going to put Marc ahead at top of the list.
We were kind of expecting that.
So Alex definitely tops the list because, we knew he was good. And based on how he has always performed in other categories, it takes him a while to get up to speed. And now this year's proven that he was being hampered by the bike that he had. Even though last year, what was he on? He was on the GP23 last year. And he had some good performances on it. Now he's on the upgraded 24 bike, the one that actually won the championship. We're actually now seeing that the guy that won 2 back-to-back, he won 125 and Moto2. I think, did he do back-to-back years?
No, he took a while. I think it was like 5 years with Moto2, man.
Yeah. It took him too long. Shouldn't have been in Moto2 that long. But again, some people are slow developers.
But not only that, the difference is because when he got to the Triumph engine, the bigger engine, he started performing better, right? Because he's one of the taller guys in the paddock. Yeah.
But hold on, when did they move to Triumph?
They've
only been to Triumph for 3 years now.
Hell no, they've been to Triumph from Alex Marquez won on a Triumph engine.
Okay, cool. But anyway, like I say, I think he's definitely been the most impressive of everybody. I mean, his consistent qualifying, his podiums. I mean, what's the lowest he's finished a race? Not on the podium. 4th?
What did he finish? Qatar.
Yeah. Where?
Qatar.
6th.
Yeah, and
that's his low.
He had a long lap penalty in Qatar.
Exactly.
Qatar was just one of them ones where it's like,
so sad that he's definitely top of the list. I think in terms of probably the most disappointing, you're gonna have to say Pecco.
Going there next. That's exactly what I was going there. What you say?
You're gonna have to say Pecco.
So let me ask you this again. So with 6 races gone, who is on your list of most disappointing rider?
Pecco is on that list. Bezzecchi, I'm putting Bezzecchi on that list. Who else should I say? I probably put that as my top 2. But I just remember the name for my for the most impressive so far. I left out one particular name.
I know.
You didn't even pick it up.
I know.
Guess who?
The number 12?
Who's that?
Maverick? Yeah.
No.
Ooh.
No. The number 79.
Iagura.
Yes. He's currently what? 10th in the championship. I mean, he's ahead of who's his teammate? Raul Fernandez. Oh, yeah, that's not really. But yeah. And probably Joan Mir the most disappointing as well.
Yeah, so my my most impressive this year, I would go with Alex Marquez also. I would go with Alex. I'd put Ayagura on that list too. Fermin is also impressing me. Yeah, for those who are watching, I didn't put Marc because, we kind of expected Marc to do Marc things. Did I say Maverick Vinales already?
I believe you did.
And I think for me that's it in terms of most impressive so far. More disappointing is going to be Joan Mir. He tops that list for me. Pecco Bagnaia is on that list. Even though he's having his best start to a season, but he's on that list. Pedro Acosta is on that list.
He crashes too damn much. That's his problem.
Pedro is on that list. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to list it. There's more, but I think I'll do that. I think it would be Joan Mir, Pecco Bagnaia, Pedro Acosta. And for those who are listening, like, oh, Pedro, I'm basing
I can deliver that.
Yeah, I'm basing it off what Pedro should be or should have been.
Yeah. We've had this discussion about Pedro before, and I said to you, whilst he's a talented rider, the problem I have with him is he crashes too much.
So I'm glad that you said that. For me, I want to see him on a different motorcycle. Because, okay,
why?
Still a talented guy coming in, right? Because maybe it's a bike that he has to override. Same thing like that happens to a lot of riders, right? But is that what I said? Because if I'm going to do it to Pecco, I'm going to have to do it to Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You should be able to ride around these things. If I'm going to do it to Pecco, it's only fair, right?
Okay.
But I guess Pedro still got this thing where it's like he's still fairly new, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's second year. So it's kind of tough. The talent is there, so let's hope he goes somewhere else. If KTM doesn't deliver him a motorcycle, let's hope he goes somewhere in a competitive motorcycle where we could really see what he could do. Because I don't want it to be, well, Pedro didn't get the right shot. I wanted to get a good motorcycle, right? And then I could see if he could really be that guy.
Fair enough.
Because he's the only one on the MotoGP grid currently who could join the club of threes, the trifecta club in terms of all categories. He's the only one on the current MotoGP grid. Mm-hmm. And for those who are listening, doesn't understand what I mean by the trifecta club, is riders who've won 125 are Moto3, 250cc's are Moto2, and MotoGP.
Yep.
In that club currently in the modern era
Marc
from
Marquez.
Is Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, because not even Lorenzo won Moto 125.
Exactly. So Pedro, he's got years ahead of him too. So to join that club, he's the only one. So he's standing he's standing in good stead to get there. No one else on the current MotoGP grid can get there because they've never won the other two categories. Actually, Alex Marquez, what am I talking about?
Yeah, Alex,
right? I guess I didn't put Alex because I love Alex, but do I see Alex winning a championship? It's a tough one. Because Zach, what you said, he's going to have to get past his brother.
Yeah, but again, He's younger than his brother, so his brother could leave. He could do it when his brother leaves.
Yeah, and it could really show up that Alex was really a talent that we're like, wow, he just needed to be in the right situation. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, the thing that Alex has done that makes me rate him highly is the fact that he's podium on Hondas, bro. Like, that's not easy to do.
Yeah, because them things are garbage.
Yeah, there's some talent there when you could podium on a Honda. So, yeah, that was my list. So, what was your moment of the weekend before we wrap it up? What was your moment of the weekend?
Zarco on the podium, top step with what's the national anthem for France? Le Marseillaise. playing in the background. That was kind of like, and actually no, that wasn't the moment for me. It was when the cameras panned to his dad, and he was actually crying.
That was my.
I think that was the moment of the weekend, and probably the moment of the season, because he's seen Zarco win before, but to do it in front of your parents, the first time your mum's been to a race, in front of your home crowd, the first Frenchman to win in 71 years.
And the craziest MotoGP crowd.
Was it 311,000? I think they said that's the largest.
Yeah, that's facade. That's fabricated.
Yeah, well,
because
I think that's over the whole entire weekend.
They count the same tickets for 3 days.
Oh,
yeah,
true.
It's not a true number, but they always do. Don't know why.
Yeah,
but
definitely his dad. Seeing his dad.
That was my moment. Was seeing Zarco's parents when he went across that line, and when he pulled up with his team.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that was nice. So yeah, kudos to Zarco. It was a great weekend. But yeah, we gonna wrap here. Got to go get my son.
I'm gonna need food. This is a long one. You're gonna have to cut.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. We're gonna edit out of this, but. Once again, thank you for listening to the Grand Prix Project Podcast. Right, appreciate everyone that listens. Actually, now we got listeners over in the Oceania, so
they finally forgive me for
continent. We've touched every single continent.
So they forgive me for blasting Jack Miller.
Yeah, so I appreciate everyone. Please go follow us on X at the GP Project. That's on X, right? And the Grand Prix Project on Instagram, or the Grand Prix Project Podcast at Instagram. We got 2 accounts. The Grand Prix Project Podcast is the main. The Grand Prix Project is the backup. So thank you everyone for listening. Keep listening. Just you could comment to us on X and tell us if you know what we could improve. Tell us your thoughts if we got something wrong. Even if some of the stats is wrong, the numbers are wrong. You know, at the end of the day, we're not gonna get everything right. But yeah, just engage with us. Like we love to engage in motorsports. So let's engage. Let's chop it up. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a debate. Right, we are passionate MotoGP, F1 fans, motorsport fans. So let's do it. Follow us on X, right? So the GP Project Pod is where we at, and on X actually. So it's a GP Project Pod. Please go follow us, and let's start a conversation. All right. So once again, this is me, your host, Andre Miller, along with the big bro, Neil G,
Thanos.
aka Thanos.
Vive la France.
With the Infinity Stones. How many stones?
Was it 5? I can't remember. There's so many stones I can't remember.
All right, we out.
Thank you for listening to the Grand Prix Project Podcast.